In this video, I'll be ranking all the upcoming fighters that will appear in the video game Multiversus. This tier list is opinion based and should not be taken seriously. It's lighthearted and meant to be fun to watch. Starting off with our first fighter, Wonderwoman, an all-rounded balanced character, has a lasso to pull in enemies, can damage opponents with a spear if they are within range, and she has a sword. She's a character I recommend everyone starting off with right away. It teaches the player the mechanics of the game and what to expect going forward with other fighters. Moving onwards, our second fighter is Tom and Jerry, a decent fighter that requires time put into him in order to become good. Their full arsenal consists of traps and setups in order to fully utilize their potential as a fighter. They're a nice choice for duos, but for 1v1s their attacks are predictable and require a lot of skill in order to perform well. Our next fighter is Bugs Bunny. He used to be one of the best characters during the beta, but has seen his fair share of nerfs over time. With the release of the full game releasing soon, I can see Bugs being in the balance category. He does have traps, but he also has some good medium range attacks. However, I believe with enough time put into the game, most will have already gotten the gist on how Bugs plays and will use that knowledge to counter his moves that he uses. Our next fighter is Shaggy. Similar to Bugs Bunny, he used to be one of the strongest fighters to go up against during the beta, but over time he has seen his fair share of nerfs and buffs. I'll place him in the good category because he has an overall great brawler to select, his attacks provide quick movements and pressure to his opponents, and he has a sandwich. What else could you want from him? Next up we have Superman. I don't have much to say about him. He can fly for a bit and do some ground pounds, and that's really kinda it. He'll be placed in the boring tier, but he does have potential of becoming a good character. Next we have Steven Universe. Can build platforms like the Minecraft man. They don't last long, but it's something he can do. He's one of the best. Next is REINDOG. He's meant to be a healing character, if I'm not mistaken. Kinda slow, not gonna lie, and he's not great as a short range or medium range as a fighter. Kinda boring. Teammates need to be good in order to excel as a fighter. Next is HARLEY-QUINN. She'll be placed in the good category, a quick fighter that can control the majority of the stage. Does have a few trap moves, but she doesn't need to be heavily reliant on them in order to perform well. Packs quite a punch if you put the time into her. An overall pretty good character and fighter to choose. Next up we have Taz. He's alright, decent category. He needs a good teammate in order to perform well. Most of his attacks can be easily countered, beginner's choice, but not one you should dedicate yourself to playing the entire time. Too slow, too weak, too easy. Next is Garnet. She's kinda cool, but her playstyle's kinda boring. She's a brute fighter and does have some good attacks, one of her moves being his shockwave-ish attack where she punches the ground and these spikes cover the majority of the map. It was slow in the beta, so maybe in the launch version of the full game it'll be faster and more deadlier. Just an example of some of her moves that are noteworthy to mention. Decent, but can be better in the relaunch. Next is Finn. Wonder Woman, but better. One of the best fighters in the game, and I'm sure he'll continue to dominate when the full game releases. A great choice for duos. Next we have Jake. He's kinda cool, and I always thought of him as a weak fighter whenever I played as him. Putting him in a decent category. Has the potential of being one of the greats further down the line. Next up is Batman. Has a good range of far distance moves and is pretty good at medium range. Performs pretty poorly when it comes to tank characters and trap characters. Other than that, he does his job and is another beginner friendly fighter to choose from. Balanced category. Next up is ARYA, a fast-paced character that'll put your opponents on their toes. Very good for duo matches. A good example of comparison is her and Sheik. She's one of the best fighters to play as and one of the worst to play up against. Next we have VELMA. She'll be placed in the good category. She plays as a long-range fighter, but her close range lacks any potential impact. A good character to choose from if you're playing duos. Her attacks can be countered pretty easily if you keep your distance away from her. Next is LEBRON-JAMES. He's boring. Nah, I'm kidding. He will actually be placed in a decent category. He has some okay attacks, but if you keep your distance away from him, he won't be much of a problem to you. Next we have Iron Giant. Stands out as a fighter compared to the others because of his massive height. He He packs quite the punch, but is also a very slow moving character. I recommend only playing him if you're doing duos. 1v1 matches, not so much. Balance category. It's impressive enough that he's even playable at all in the game. Next up is Morty. One of the best fighters in the game. Strong up close and has some strong long range moves that he can use. Also has one of the best recovery moves in the game. He can literally summon a vertical platform that ascends upwards and also has good whisk to it. Next we have Rick. Kinda expect him to be the best fighter from the series, but instead he is one of the okayish fighters in the game. If you're in a duos match with another Rick, then the combined power of the two of you is worthy enough even of itself, and he can even be considered a threat. If it's just you versus a different opponent, half the time he is not the ideal character to choose from. Highly dependent on his opponents being close range in order to utilize his full arsenal. At least he has Meeseeks. Decent category. His rework might help him enough to where in a future tier list video he could even be considered one of the greats. Next is Stripe. He's a light character that can be punished very easily if you know how to counter him. A good choice are 2v2s due to his strong projectiles, but other than that he is just okay. Decent tier. Next we have Black Adam. Originally he was going to be placed in the good tier, but recalling from my memory, he was nerfed a few times, or if not once, and some of his nerfs nerfed some of his good moves, like his back kicks or his boomerang energy spears. At this state he is one of the few balanced fighters in the game that doesn't feel too weak but too strong either. Perfectly balanced, as all things should be. Next up is GIZMO. Not much to say about this little dude. He is a support character like REINDOG, but again, he just doesn't feel strong enough to escape the boring category. Maybe over time he'll get better, but at this state he is just alright and a decent fighter to choose if you're doing duos. Next up is Marvin. Now Marvin is an interesting one. He could be extremely confusing if you don't know how to play him right, or he could be one of the most frustrating fighters to go up against. But once you learn his tricks, he is honestly isn't that bad to go up against. I'll place him for now in the balance category, but there is a possibility of it being altered again in a future tier list video. That is all the fighters from the open beta version of Multiversus, and now it's time for speculating the potential of these remaining fighters and where I think they will stand on the opening day of the Multiversus relaunch. These remaining fighters are as followed: Joker, Banana Guard, JASON-VORHEES, and Agent Smith from The Matrix. Joker seems to have a variety of moves and cool combos that he can do. I'm a big fan of the pogo stick attack since it seems like he can perform it a few times before being forced out of it temporarily. Seems very promising and is being set up to being one of the main antagonists for the overall story of the game. Has the potential of becoming one of the greats. Good category. Banana Guard definitely gives off Piranha Plant vibes from Smash Bros. Ultimate. A strange character for sure, especially considering what we could have gotten as a replacement for him. But I want to give the benefit of the doubt, and I'm content with him joining the roster because he does seem like a really fun character to play as. Also, for a side note, he is a bruiser, in case if you were wondering. Potential of becoming one of the best meme characters in the game, I'm calling it now. What a shocker was to see the slasher JASON-VORHEES join the roster for Multiversus. I'm certain he'll be a bruiser, and one of his moves could even be him teleporting around in the map. That would be so cool. Multiversus devs, please include that. Balanced tier. He might be slow in game, but has the potential of being a heavy hitter character. His short terms, a force to be reckoned with. The very last fighter to join the roster is Agent Smith. I personally haven't watched the Matrix movies in a while, so I'm a bit unfamiliar with how he works, but just seeing a Matrix rep being included in the game is just an icing on the cake. I can see him being one of the best fighters in the game. I'm calling it now. This is the completed tier list on who I think will reign supreme when Multiversus launches on the 20th of May. Thank you for watching the video, and comment down below if you agree with what I said or if you disagree. Don't forget to click subscribe if you enjoy watching my content. Until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video. Have a good one. So long.